My autoethnographic reflections of liminality focus on three phases of my dissertation process. The first took place in the early years, just before comprehensive exams. The second took place while I was designing my dissertation research. And then finally at my current stage as an emerging scholar. Earlier in my process, I really felt stuck in the space between who I was, what I wanted to do, and what was expected of me. In a neoliberal context, there's always an expectation that you be on the cutting edge. But I had been inspired back to graduate school by Black women who told their stories, and I really wanted to be part of that narrative history and tradition. But that idea was sort of met with this tension that felt like dismissal. And I kept being encouraged to go back to the drawing board. And I really felt that if my idea didn't belong to the person that I was working with, that it really didn't count as a good idea. But I'm fortunate to have been nurtured by a committee of women of color scholars who know that space very well. And they encouraged me to go on writing retreat with Dr. Fernillier. And during this really wonderful week in the woods, she taught me two things early in my PhD journey from her space of liminality that really nurtured mine. The first is drop by drop, bucket to full up. And this is Dr. Fernillier's method for clarifying research questions and for motivating her students through a research and writing process. And it really is an iterative idea that in order to write, you have to first ask a question, develop a plan to gain more information, ask another question once you get that little bit of information, and continue this process until you really sort of get to the heart of a matter. And this, it's a liminal space that requires endurance, because at the end of that process, you really may only come to another question. You may not have a definitive answer. And so the question becomes, can you be comfortable in the in-between space of knowing and not knowing? And also, can you have the confidence to remain in that space? Even though the neoliberal university really wants something more definitive. The second thing that she taught while we were on writing retreat was that isolation is not the goal. And I think this was really important for me because in a neoliberal context, we're always asked to compete with one another. There's who can give the best presentation, who's gonna, get the award or the prestigious fellowship, who will get a tenure track position, and so on and so forth. And even when you're doing collaborative work, that push and pull, that strain, that tension is always there. But on retreat, I learned that you really have to create an academic village. You have to have a home, and you also have to have a seat at the kitchen table. And all of those spaces are simultaneously inside and outside of the me-centered space that is the university. And having those two foundational understandings of liminality really grounded me so that I could move forward in my research.